Hello everyone, how's Karen and the kids? It's been a minute. A lot of things have been going on. I don't really know what I want to talk about, honestly. I normally, what I've been doing is I've been talking about current events and stuff on the radio station a lot. So it's kind of hard to kind of get stuff out of me now because it's just a lot of stuff going on. But other than that, dude. Other than that, I guess I could just talk about things I can't really talk about on the radio station. There are, where do I even start, honestly? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things happening at the school. SNU is the Groyper frat. In terms of movement, I guess this will be more of like I guess I'm journaling more so my progress on different things. So, and I guess it'll be more just like about ideas, rather than actual like events and stuff like that. But, yeah. So we're trying to get. I got the Presbyterian College Conservatives up and running, like properly up and running. I know I talked about this in previous episode, but no, I didn't. I forget. I'm not on the radio, so I can't really say a show. This isn't really a show, but on my last video, I kind of talked about a club that I was trying to start, and I did get it started by the time that video got published. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I said that. Pretty sure I did though. But yeah, I did get it started, and it's been insane. We got guest speakers coming in all the time on a constant basis, pretty much. Once a week we have a meeting, and there'll just be a guest. There'll be a guest appearance. There'll be a guest speaker. It's been pretty good so far. A very big difficulty within not just the college campus, but also, I guess, really just the mainstream conservatives, or even not even the mainstream conservatives, just this newfound radicalism that you see with people who pretty much like post Charlie Kirk, right? You have post October 7th people, then you have post Charlie Kirk, right? And I think like the post Charlie Kirk people especially have been extremely insufferable because they're watching, or I guess they would be post October 7th, but they kind of sort of splintered off from the main movement, I suppose. They wanted to get into the Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was a time traveler that used ancient Sumerian technology, right? I've seen that on campus a lot, and it's concerning. Because on one hand, it's like, okay, it's good that these people are accepting of ideas in a sense. But on the other hand, right, it's a problem because what do they do to people like Nick Fuentes, for instance? I mean, listen, when I was new, I thought Nick Fuentes was a Fed, okay? But I grew out of it, all right? I grew out of it. I graduated high school. I grew out of it, right? But these people, they just have no chill, They're not using critical thinking whatsoever, and it's only getting worse. Not everything is Israel, If this microphone dies as I'm recording this video, it's not Mossad's fault. It's ridiculous what we're doing here. And you get these low IQ, Nick talked about this. He talked about like low IQ people that tend to be more low IQ. They don't pick their own side. They just pick a side. They don't choose their own side. So when you get people like Jake Shields or Candace Owens or Ian Carroll, it's just a false dichotomy. It's like it's Israel or you're a Fed, pretty much, right? It all boils down to Israel, right? So with Jake Shields, you always have to side with Muslims because Muslims aren't Jews, right? You have to side with you know, you have to side with third worldism because that rejects Jews, right? And so it's bittersweet, because on one hand it's inspiring to see a lot of people that are like, yeah, you know, let's blame Israel, let's blame Israel. Yeah, what are you, Jewish? You know, stuff like that. You know, that's inspiring in a sense. But at the same time, it's also it's exhausting and it's painful to hear, because, you know, when you have too much of that, it delegitimizes the movement by a very significant degree, and we just can't have that. You know, we can't have people, you know, talking about like, oh, I was astral projecting and you know, oh, Epstein came to me in a dream, Charlie Kirk came to me in a dream. It's like, come on, stop. You know, we need to do better. But, you know, I've been seeing that around campus, and I feel, you know, I have mixed feelings about that. You know, in terms of taking over the student media and student government, student media, we're trying to push it. Student government, we're having about as much success. Student media, actually, we're having more. Never mind. Student media, we are having more success. I feel like I've gotten from once a week for doing my radio shows. Once a week, I've bumped that up to twice a week. So, you know, we're slowly and steadily gaining influence, and among the club, we're getting pretty popular. You know, we're getting pretty popular. People are liking us. We're getting our name out there, because, you know, we're bringing people on, and we're bringing pretty good people on too. I don't want to name any names, because I feel like I don't want people to get in trouble. Of course, I'm not going to name any names, but kind of big people. Where it's steadily climbing. So, you know, candidates for some very big races are coming over to the frat house, and that's normally where we have our meetings. They're coming over to the frat house to discuss politics, and, you know, to hear our questions about things. And it's just it's going pretty good. It's going pretty steady. You know, we have our own Brill and Hollyhans, of course, that are a little difficult to work with. Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, it's just so... Conservatism's just dead. Conservatism's dead. And, you know, you have all these people that were groomed to be like, you know, the top... the top... what would be the right word? But just like, you know, they're just boomer pets, dude. You know, they're boomer's pet, dude. That's all they are. You know, the Brill and Hollyhans, right? You get people like that are on campus too, and they're awful. I can't name names, because I don't think I can name names. I think that'll cause issues. So I won't name names, but a girl on campus, I had her on my show, actually. I had her on my show because my normal co-host, he wasn't on. So I was like, okay, I got to fill it in, so let's just grab somebody. So we got this girl, and she's trying to start a Turning Point USA chapter. And it's just, you know, I'm kind of glad that this breed of conservatism is dying off, right? This ideology is kind of like nobody believes in this stuff anymore. But I'm having these discussions with about immigration and stuff like that, and it's just so disheartening. You know, how can a young person really believe these things about, like, oh, well, you know, oh, Jose's doing the jobs that other immigrants won't do, you know? Or that other people won't do. My apologies. I didn't mean other immigrants. That Americans won't do these jobs. It's just painful to hear. It's disgusting to hear, really. It's the same boomer slop all the time on a constant basis. But I'll tell you something. The professors here have surprised me. A couple of them. They've been pretty open to I guess, this side of politics for a minute. And they're older people too, you know, and which surprised me a lot, because I would have figured, you know, it was to be expected. Like, I wouldn't have been offended if they were telling me, like, oh, we need to end property tax, and, you know, we need to end property tax. I'm just tired of all this, you know, the basic, you know. I wouldn't have been mad, because, you know, that was their time. But, you know, I was talking to this guy. He was part of the Patrick Buchanan campaign and everything else, and you know, he had buddies in Charlottesville. So, you know, it's just, like, really cool. I didn't expect that at all, which, I mean, I'm in South Carolina. I probably should have, maybe, but, you know, things are on the up and up, and there's no stopping this, you know. There is no stopping what's going to come. I know people that are running for office that are on my side of things, you know, that are America first, truly American first, and America only. They're running for office, and they're doing good numbers. Not only are they running for office, they're entering positions of power in more bureaucratic areas. So we're doing good, and we're going to continue to do good until we have a total. I'm not ready to say that. I'm not ready to say that yet. I don't think I'm ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that yet. I gotta be on YouTube a bit more. I'm not ready for that one yet. But I'm just, you know, I'm ready for Christ to prevail. You know, we're going to win. It's inevitable. And, you know, people are telling me, you know, this is the Nazi frat. This is the Nazi frat. And, you know, people are scared. People are so scared. You know, they used to call me they used to call us the Nazi frat. They used to call us the Nazis. They used to call me a Nazi. But they've seen the shift. They know that nobody cares. You know, oh, I'm a Nazi. Okay, and now what? Now what? You know, so they're not. So now the new thing is they're calling us Zionists, because now they understand. They understand that Nazi has no real effect. They're trying to call us Zionists. That's the new Manichean. Doesn't matter. That's the new Manichean way of speaking. That's the new bad thing. That's the new dichotomy, right? Oh, these guys are Zionists, actually. Hitler was a Zionist, actually. He wasn't a socialist. He was a Zionist. It's getting out of hand, and that's another thing too. We can't let the left adopt our language. They will not adopt our aesthetic. They will not adopt our language. We can't let that happen whatsoever. Okay, so when, you know, they're trying so hard to push this, you know, not Nazis or Zionists. You know, it's ridiculous. And it's ultimately fruitless, but they're just doing it so that they can call you, they can call you compromised in their own little way, in their own special way, right? So they can say that, oh well, Netanyahu, this is something Netanyahu would say, right? You know, you can't be anti-Semitic, you know, if you're critical of Israel. It's like, where do you think Israel gets its influence? You know, you think it just kind of like it just fell from the sky? Their power was just promised to them 2,000 years ago. Is that what you think? You know, it just appeared. somehow just appeared. No, it's because they are tribalistic, and they take advantage of certain attitudes post World War II, and they use that to further justify their tribalistic nature that they had before World War II. And they develop these positions of power, and they help each other out. This isn't this rugged individualism that particularly white people cling on to. Everybody else seems to be more tribalistic, but white people tend to cling on to this, like, okay, I'm an individual. You see this a lot with the boomers, right? They're like, oh, I'm not going to give my inheritance to my kids. I'm going to donate to a charity, right? With white people, they just don't understand it. And Jewish people don't like white people because of some gripes that they have, specifically with Rome. This is why they hate the Europeans, because who are the Europeans? Who are the Europeans, right? It's not just Rome, but Rome was the start of it. What happened? What happened after Jesus' death, right? Well, the Jews rejected the Messiah. They were waiting for a Messiah, but not all of them were waiting for a Messiah. You had the Zealots. The Zealots, they took over Jerusalem. They were tired of the taxation that Rome put on them. So what happened? Vespasian, and later on Titus, of course. Titus destroys the walls. Vespasian and Titus. Titus is Vespasian's son. Is Vespasian's son? Yes. So Titus busts down the walls of Jerusalem. They destroy Jerusalem. They cut off the food supply. They kill these people off. They go hunting. They go down even to the Dead Sea. They kill off all of these Jewish people that were suspected to have been part of this rebellion. They go to Masada. Again, around the Dead Sea, around that area. They go to Masada and they kill off all these zealots. And, they hate Rome for that. And by proxy, they hate Europe. Not just because of that, but also because, the Crusades were going on. It's a long-standing grudge. Because ultimately, deep down in their heart, with their convictions, deep down they know they rejected the Messiah, which is why they have such a strong disdain for Christendom, and why they try to co-opt it. Because who are they? They're a witness people. They saw the life of Jesus. They're a witness people, right? And ultimately, they are the descendants of the actual Jewish faith before predating Christ. But when Christ came and he fulfilled the law, there were two branches of came from that. The old Judaism died, and there became two. One that rejected Christ and one that accepted Christ. And the Jews hated Christ. They hated Christ. Not only did they not think he was the Savior, they hated him. They thought he was of the devil. And so they hate European society because it was mostly Christian. The Germanic Holy Roman Empire, they were Christian. The Roman Empire, they were not Christian, but they were anti-Semitic. Because, of course, what did Jews do on a constant basis? They constantly attempted to subvert Rome. They never assimilated. Which, listen, it's one thing. There are two different forms of assimilation. You don't necessarily have to believe in the same gods as the Romans, but what did they do? They intentionally disrespected Rome on a constant basis. And it was sort of a mutual thing. There wasn't necessarily victimization. It was a neutral thing. They hated each other. Romans did not want to be stationed in Palestine or Judea, which is where That was, where most of the Jews lived, because the Romans didn't like Jews and they knew the Jews didn't like them. They hated being stationed there because they would be constantly tormented. All of these, I'm sorry, it's kind of, it's going everywhere, but, past that, past the Roman Empire, you look at Spain, look how many countries the Jews were kicked out of, and it's because they subvert the nation that they're in almost always. 99.9% of the time, they are subverting the country they reside in the interest of their fellow Jew, because they are a diaspora people. And what does that mean? It means that for the longest time, they didn't have a homeland. They relied purely off of ethnicity. This is where their loyalties lied. It was ethnicity. And, of course, that was the root of it. And then there were layers to it, of course. So there's ideology. Maybe there was some superficial patriotism, but almost always this gets superseded by ideology. And then on top of that, this ideology gets superseded, of course, by ethnicity, religion, and ethnicity. Normally, it's roughly really no, religion first and then ethnicity, because a lot of people, they don't even accept Jewish converts. But I'm probably not going to put this on YouTube, to be honest. It'll be on Rumble. This is a huge rant, and it's sort of a stream of consciousness thing. So I don't know how much I'm going to be able to. It's a little crazy. So we went on a crazy rant, dude. It's going to be a crazy semester. It's going to be a crazy year. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy 4 years. And when Trump's out of office, there will be a red wave, a real one. It won't be a red wave, actually. It won't be a red wave. It'll be, I don't know what you would call it. It would be a reconquista. It will be a reconquista. It won't be, this won't be a red wave. This won't be, Ben Shapiro destroying the libs with facts and logic. Oh, SJW cringe compilations are coming back. Oh, woke is dead. No. We're going to take them out in Masada. You understand? We're going to breach the walls. There will be not a single subversive zealot left, politically speaking. Of course, I'm not actually talking about violence. Maybe that was that might have been a poor analogy. But Ben Shapiro, no one will have known who Ben Shapiro is in the next 5 years. Do you know who is going to be relevant? It's not going to be Ben Shapiro. It's not going to be, I don't even know the guy's name. I can't even remember his name. That's how irrelevant he is. It's not going to be Marco Rubio. It's not going to be J.D. Vance. It's not going to be, it's not going to be Pete Hegseth. It's not going to be, I'm really struggling. I really want to remember this guy's name. It's not going to be Dave Rubin. It's not going to be the based gay conservatives. It's not going to be the based trannies. Yeah, guys, we got Blair White. Blair White, the based tranny. Huh. Yeah, that's an autogonophile. Try saying that 5 times fast. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it might be a sexual degenerate, but at least he likes lower taxes. That will die. That ideology will die. And a new one will rise. It will be... We will have a nation with morals again. We will have a nation with a cultural identity again. We will have a nation with hegemony again. And with homogeneity. We will be an American empire, and we will start acting like a sovereign nation. You know? I love what we did with Maduro. And of course, and maybe there were some benefits. Maybe Israel took some benefits from that. To me, like, we took their oil, and if it's a side effect, if Israel benefits from that as a side effect, it's like, whatever. Okay? We took their oil. Do you know why? Because we are the sovereign. We are the sovereign. We are the sovereign of this hemisphere. Okay? We own the Americas because we are the American empire. We are a superpower. We control the world. We need to act like it. We don't get to. We are not going to kneel. We're not going to kneel for money-changing Sadducees that rejected Christ. We're not kissing the wall for people that crucified our Savior, that literally had our Savior crucified. It's the Roman. The Romans did that. No. The Romans held a vote. And guess who the Jewish population voted to have crucified? Was it the murderer? No, it was Jesus Christ. It was Jesus of Nazareth. And there wouldn't be any beef except for the fact that they believe that this was completely justified. They still do to this day. They never apologized. There was never any rebuking of this. Ben Shapiro will go on Joe Rogan and say that Jesus Christ was a rebel that got killed for his trouble. Do you understand where we're at? You know, we do not need to take these people's opinions seriously. Whenever they want to shame you, right? They're like, hey, you know, what about the Holocaust? The Holocaust is the Holocaust that. Did you care? Did you care when Americans died? Do you care now when Americans die? Do you care when anybody else dies except for your own people? And of course, the answer is no. And so why do we have to feel guilty for wrongdoings of, 80 years ago? Why do we have to feel guilty for something that happened 80 years ago that most people weren't even alive for? We have to live in perpetual guilt. We can't have a nation. We can't have a nation because an Austrian guy also wanted a nation at some point. And, he had gas chambers. So I guess we can't have a nation because having a nation means you're going to gas Jews, I guess. This is ridiculous. We're a nation. We're a nation with borders. We're a nation with a people. Theodore Roosevelt, people like Theodore Roosevelt, they understood this well. We're not mutts. You understand? We're not a mix of, German, Scandinavian, English, Scottish, Irish, Italian, Dutch, Norwegian. We're not mutts. We are a distinct race. You understand that? We are a distinct people. We're not just a mixture of German, Irish, we're not just this pan-European mix. We are the people. We are the descendants of the people that dared to come here. You understand? We weren't just We weren't just a mixture of those people. We were the adventurers of those countries. We were the conquerors of those countries. The people that stayed home, they're a completely different race than the people that came here and that were forged by the wilderness, by the savage lands. We tamed the wilderness. We were fighting a savage people that were scalping each other, that were killing each other off. We were fighting a barren wasteland, the barren desert that was the West. We tamed this unfarmable land and we turned it into this beautiful country. No, we're not a mix of European. No, we're American. That's who we are. We're conquerors. We're explorers. That's who we are. Okay? So, yeah. Huge rant. Huge rant. Sorry. Huge rant. And part of that was, I'm just going to own it. Right? Because I know I'm going to get this. Of course, we all know who I watch. I think it's pretty obvious. So, I'm not even gonna address it. You know who I watch, obviously. So it's just our generation is we're going to be the first people in a long time to sit there and say earnestly that no, America isn't an economic zone. America isn't, being an American isn't about a piece of paper. Being an American isn't even about memorizing facts or figures about America. Being American, it's in your blood. It's in your blood. It's in your veins. It's not about, it's not about a visa. It's not even about your parents coming over and you being born to them. It's not even about being born here, necessarily. To a certain extent. It's about the founding stock. And it's about assimilation. It's not just about the founding stock. It's about assimilation to an extent. It's about true assimilation. America has its own distinct culture. And if all you want to do is take your third world culture and claim it to be America's, that's your contribution, you can get out. You can get out. Okay? You don't belong here. All right? You need to assimilate. What does that mean? If your religion requires you to wear a headdress, you need to leave. And I'm being dead serious. Whether it's a tiny hat or some other head covering, you need to leave. If your last name ends with, I'm not even going to go that far. Let's not do that. Yeah, I think that's about it for my rant, dude. I'm literally using the school camera for this, so I have to put this file into my laptop and then delete it from the camera SD card because I'm not trying to get expelled. But yeah, I'll see you guys.